In this day and age, it's very difficult for Premier League clubs to keep their transfer business under wraps until it's officially done. There's just far too many people involved in the deals, and there's leaks everywhere. However, I don't think West Ham are doing too bad a job this summer, all things considered. For sure, the 3 signings we've made in Foderingham, Kilman and Guilherme were all linked to West Ham, and Downes has obviously been linked to Southampton for quite some time. But in terms of the progress of the deal and what stage it's at, I think for a couple of them, we've kept it under wraps until the last minute. Max Kilman, the news came out, West Ham bid 40 million for him, Wolves should accept it. An hour later, the news was he's having his medical. So it went from maybe making a third bid to Kilman having a medical within 2 hours. And something similar has happened here with Flynn Downes. On Saturday, Russell Martin was talking about he's going to cry himself to sleep. 48 hours later, Flynn Downes was on a plane out of Austria to go have his medical at Southampton. There was no talk of a bid from Saints or it has been accepted. It was no, he is on his way for a medical. By the way, that medical has been concluded. He's passed it as you would expect. So Flynn Downes is set to become a permanent member of Southampton's team for around 18 million. The official announcement should be later tonight or tomorrow. This one, I'm possibly more surprised at how long it's taken. Southampton knew before the season was even finished. As soon as they won that playoff final, they knew they wanted Flynn Downes on a permanent transfer. I'm just surprised it's taken 2 months to get it done. In terms of him leaving West Ham, I'm disappointed for him. When he arrived, it obviously meant a lot to him to come to West Ham. He might leave feeling like he never really got a fair crack at it. For the 2 seasons he was in the Championship, either side of his spell at West Ham, he was one of the best centre midfielders in the league. And the year he was at West Ham, he won a trophy. So if there was one year you could pick to be at West Ham United as a West Ham United fan, I think Flynn Downes got the best 12 months out of it. He's got a winner's medal, a European winner's medal, in which he played part of that campaign as well and decked a few fans in the crowd. So he's got it. So he's had a good stint with us. But like I said, he may feel he never really got a fair crack at it. And in the last couple of weeks, I thought maybe he was going to get that opportunity. Since the initial rumour regarding Kyle Walker-Peters to West Ham came out, everything went a little bit quiet. And I thought maybe Downes is looking at the injury to Edson Alvarez pre-season. Well, the training was underway, but the friendlies were just about to get underway. But maybe Downes was thinking, I'll just put that Saints move on hold for now, because I know the manager really wants me. I know the club really want me. I'll give it a few weeks at West Ham under Lopetegui, and then I'll decide where to go from there. Obviously, he runs the risk of the Saints going and buying an alternative to Flynn Downes, and he might miss that opportunity. But I got to the point where I was thinking maybe he was going to give it a crack under us, and we were going to give him an opportunity in pre-season to show what he can do. But alas, not the case, and off to Southampton he goes. I think it's a good move for him. He knows the manager loves him. He knows the Southampton fans love him. He spoke at the end of last season about how much he loved being at Southampton and that he wanted to go there. He's getting his move. In terms of West Ham, it's difficult to know if I'm happy with this deal because of Kyle Walker-Peters. If this was a straight deal and there's no second one to follow, I think it's an okay fee. I don't think we've been mugged off. We've made a small profit. But at the same time, I don't think it's an incredible transfer fee for one of the best players in the Championship and one of the best midfielders in the Championship, especially when you consider how desperate the Saints were and Russell Martin was to get him back. And the fact he's homegrown, he's a good age, 25 years old. So there's a lot of reasons that West Ham had negotiating power for this transfer. So I think if there's no Kyle Walker deal to come, I think it's an okay transfer fee. I think to some extent everybody wins. Saints know what they're getting and who they're getting. Flynn Downes knows where he's going. We've got 18 million into the transfer kitty. It's ticking all the boxes. But, and it is a big but, I'm now intrigued about Kyle Walker-Peters. I just hope, because there's a lack of rumours regarding Walker-Peters over the last couple of days. I've been waiting for it to come out, and the rumours have been, well, this should see the Walker-Peters pursuit advance. I was hoping for a bit more than that. I was hoping for we've agreed a deal with Southampton for Kyle Walker-Peters. It's just been done in this way because of PSR. It makes sense to do it in 2 separate transactions for accounting purposes. But there's none of that. And I just hope that if we do genuinely want Kyle Walker-Peters and we're hoping to sign him, I'm hoping we've got that deal agreed before we sign off on this Downes one. The last thing I'd like to see is Flynn Downes join Southampton, 18 million, we go in and say, right, we'll sign Kyle Walker-Peters now. That negotiating power I feel West Ham had over Flynn Downes is gone completely. Southampton would be well within their rights to turn around and say, well, we'll have 18 million for Kyle Walker-Peters then, let's just make it a straight swap. And that ain't a good deal. I don't want to see us pay 18 million for Kyle Walker-Peters. Between 10 and 15, I think somewhere in there, 13 million, 14 million, I think that would be a good deal for Kyle Walker-Peters when you take into factor his contractual situation, and they've already signed his replacement, so they can allow Walker-Peters to be sold now. I just hope that we haven't gone into a situation where it's going to get a little bit trickier than it needs to be. There's no rush for us to sell Flynn Downes this week. He's passed his medical, personal terms won't be an issue. Let's just not sign off on it just yet until this Kyle Walker-Peters one's done, because as soon as we sign off on it, that's when I think the power shifts over to the south coast, and that will make me nervous. And this is obviously assuming we want Walker-Peters. Maybe we've decided we don't want him, we're going to move on to someone else, whether that's Adam Wan-Bissaka or somebody else. We'll have to wait and see. I'm just surprised at the lack of rumours in the last 24 hours since the news came out about Walker-Peters. But like I said, I'll go back to the start of the video. We've done alright keeping things under wrap. There is a possibility, and I'm hoping that this is what's happening here, that we have agreed a deal with Walker-Peters. We're just unaware of it right now, and maybe we might get that surprise. It's been a long time. We've all secretly been hoping one day the website will just have a player with a shirt that we weren't expecting and we've never heard of. We're doing the opposite at the minute. We're just signing players like Andy Irving and just not announcing it whatsoever, just never putting it on the official website. But nice to do something different for once. Walker-Peters is just there. Rip it. We'll wait and see. I'm just a little bit nervous actually, and until we sign a right back and resolve that situation, I'm unsure how I feel in regards to receiving 18 million for Flynn Downes. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a domino effect. I'm waiting for it to happen now. Anyway, whilst Downes was being poked, prodded and tugged to make sure he'd pass a medical, if you're in with any chance of being tugged this summer, then you want to make sure that you too are in tip-top condition, and the best way to do that is by heading over to Manscaped and grabbing a Lawn Mower 5. With ceramic blades to reduce the risk of ingrown hairs and you cutting your ball sack, it's waterproof so you can use it in the shower, and it has a torch so you can see what you are doing. But the good news is we've got a deal for you here at Hammers Chat, so you can get saving before you go shaving. Pop all items you'd like into your basket, and when you're at checkout, if you use the code Hammers Chat Pubes, yes, that's Hammers Chat Pubes, all one word, no spaces, you will receive 20% off absolutely everything on their website, including the package deals they've got. They've already got bundle deals giving you a discount. You receive 20% on top of that discount. Plus, you'll get free shipping worldwide. And it's not just the Lawn Mower 5 they've got the Weed Whacker, which gets rid of the hair from your nose and your ears. It's got the Beard Shaver, it's got boxers, it's got nail clippers, it's got tweezers. All sorts of things you need on that website for male grooming. So do go check it out. Links in the description below. And use the code HammersChatPubes so that if you are lucky this summer, just like Flynn Downes, you'll pass the test. Now, moving on to the striker target. First of all, let's start with the old striker target, which is Jhon Duran. The reports over the last couple of days is that West Ham have somewhat cooled their interest in him due to A, the price tag, but also B, how Aston Villa want the deal structured compared to how we would like it. West Ham apparently really want to make it clause heavy, which makes sense. Now, the price tag hasn't changed. The rumoured price tag is still 35 million, which is what Fabrizio Romano was reporting. But Aston Villa are looking for 35 million guaranteed, and West Ham are obviously trying to make a large part of that transfer fee depending on the success of the transfer. This makes sense from our perspective because he comes with risk. He comes with a lot of potential as well as ability, but there are concerns regarding Duran's attitude. So I can understand why we are trying to reduce that fee as much as possible, but make it up with clauses. So if he makes a certain amount of appearances, goals, caps for Colombia, West Ham achieve European football, win a trophy, whatever those clauses are, it makes sense. Especially if Aston Villa are going to want a sell-on clause on there as well, I can see why we'd say, well, hang on, we're not giving you 35 million plus proceeds of a future sale. You can have one or the other, really. So I think we're doing the right thing playing hardball over this deal. But also, I think Aston Villa are doing the right thing because he is a damn fine player. I still expect him to leave Villa Park this summer because it does feel like, especially with the fan base, it feels like he's maybe just gone a bit too far and burnt those bridges, and the fans in particular are looking for him to move on. Not all of them, but even those that do want to see him go accept he's a really good player with endless potential. It's just that he's been a bit problematic and that perhaps Emery has given up on him a little bit. So I think he will leave. It's just where he goes, we'll wait and see. Now, I still think we're in this run-in. He's I say still with Colombia, he won't be anymore, but literally finished on early hours on Monday morning, the competition finished. So I don't think, there's no surprise that this deal hasn't progressed yet. I wasn't really expecting it to. Perhaps towards the end of the week, I would expect to see some movement from Aston Villa and from West Ham if this deal is going to happen. There's almost no barriers really. He will be due to go on holiday now off the back of the competition before returning for pre-season with Aston Villa, but I don't see that being too much of an issue. So I think if our interest is genuine and serious, we will start to see something happening in the coming days. I'm 50-50 as to whether it'll happen or not. Now that's quite high actually, because the next transfer target we're going to discuss is Calvert-Lewin, and I certainly ain't high as 50-50 on this one, but we are linked to him, and this is the thing that worries me here. If this was reported by one of the lesser sources, it's easily dismissed. You've got a load of rubbish, paper talk, move on. However, this was broken by Dharmesh at Sky Sports. Let's go back to the start of the video. Dharmesh broke the Flynn Downes medical news. He was the first person in the world to put out there that Flynn Downes had permission to go to Southampton for a medical. That was Dharmesh at Sky Sports. It's the same person saying that we have cooled our interest on Duran, but we're interested in Everton striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, it is an alternative, and it is being downplayed a little bit, and nobody's really came out and said that that's not true. If anything, it's sort of a small, yeah, we're interested in. And I think you've got to do that. If you're a journalist and in the know, I think you're brave if you do two things. One, you nail your colours to the mast and say, this is the guy that club's going to go get. Forget everybody else, this is him. And the other thing is, if you dismiss a rumour, I think fair play. Because if it happens, you're going to look stupid. The easiest thing, and probably the best thing to do, is say, yeah, we're interested in him. Yeah, he's a potential target. So if it happens, you can say, told you. And if it doesn't happen, you can say, told you. It was just a potential one. So it's been downplayed a little bit, but not dismissed completely. The interesting thing with Calvert-Lewin is he's likely to leave Goodson Park this summer. He's only got 1 year to go on his Everton contract, but the big news in regards to the Blues side of things is that he's rejected a contract, and this has been reported by The Athletic. So again, a really credible source behind this one, that Calvert-Lewin has rejected the contract offer from Everton and is set to leave. He's not going to sign a new contract with Everton. So either they cash in now or he walks on free next summer. Obviously, the one that's more likely is that Everton sell him, because I say skinned, but they've been under pressure with PSR, and regardless of what they sell him for this summer, it will be a significant profit on their books. They paid 1.5, it was under 2 million they paid Sheffield United for him, so it's just as good as selling an academy player. However, the price tag, and this is when I was having a look earlier, I thought, what is he? He's been linked to Newcastle, he's been linked to Man United. Obviously that's even more unlikely now, they've signed a striker. But I thought, what is the rumoured price tag then attached to Calvert-Lewin? I'm just going to humour the West Ham one for a minute. 30 million. 30 million is the price tag that he's rumoured to be, well, what Everton are wanting. Obviously strongly linked to Newcastle. My hunch is that's maybe where he will end up, and they're still the favourites to sign him. So he's likely to leave. Off the back of last season, one of his better seasons in terms of fitness, obviously not goal scoring. He still scored 7, but they pretty much came in a flurry towards the end of it. He had that massive drought in the middle, the middle 75% of the season he didn't score. He just kept on playing, And all those games when I don't know, every time you watched Everton, they would mention what game it was that Calvert-Lewin hadn't scored since. He ended up contributing towards this, 4 or 5 goals in 6-7 games at the end of the season. So he finished the season strongly, but also didn't really get injured. So in terms of him, it was a good season with that injury record behind him, because he has been injury prone throughout his career. And it is a concern, and that's the reason I don't want him. I do not want Calvert-Lewin. He's 27 years old, he's homegrown, so there is a lot to like about him. And if he was cheap, then sure, get him in. Not as your number 1 striker though. That's the one thing I cannot stress enough. I wouldn't want to go into the new season with Calvert-Lewin, Antonio and Danny Ings. I would not like that as our attacking options, because I'd almost think there's going to be games where we're going to have to play Bowen up front because of those 3. If that's the option, we're going to have to then use Kudus or Bowen as striker somewhere along the lines. But if Calvert-Lewin was to come in and Ings was to leave, then I think that would be good options. The problem is it just ain't worth it financially, because Everton are well within the rights to demand a big fee. They ain't going to get it. I'll be surprised if they do. But in June, I remember him being linked to Newcastle for around about 20 million or something, and strongly linked to, and this because of the PSR deadline. And I sort of scoffed at it, and thought, surely no one's paying that. But then, the more I see and hear and read, I think someone is going to pay a big transfer fee for him this summer, because he wants out of Everton. Not to West Ham. He missed a few games last season, Calvert-Lewin, through injury, but a couple of them were for his broken cheekbone. Remember that game? His face blew up. I can't remember who it was. He got clattered by someone, didn't he? And his cheek just inflamed there and then. He had to get subbed off. Anyway, he missed the next couple of games. So injury-wise, he had a good season. Goal-wise, it was an okay season. 7 goals, nothing to write home about, but I wouldn't call it a disaster. It's just that it came in a purple patch right at the end. It's a big no for me. We're being linked to another couple of strikers, but nobody too serious bar Jhon Duran. If that's our number 1 target, I expect a lot of movement this week. Whoever the right back target is, I expect a lot of movement this week. I think that's our 2 priority positions. I think it should be our 2 priority positions. I'm hoping that come Friday, we will have at least made significant transfer bids for players in those ones. My hunch at the minute is it will be Duran and Kyle Walker-Peters. I'm hoping, like I said earlier, I'm just hoping that we've got something agreed with Southampton for Walker-Peters under the radar. Otherwise, I'm going to start to get a little bit anxious that the power is now with the Saints, as well as Flynn Downes for 18 million. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it, subscribe to Dharmesh Chat. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.